additional name of Puja Gurudev tonight. We'll do just that. We have to see. We'll chant some of them and then we'll add one more. Om Omkar Vide Namaha.
Om Omkar Vide Namaha.
Om Karuna Sagaraya Namaha.
Om Karuna Sagaraya Namaha.
Om Karma Parayanaya Namaha.
Om Karma Parayanaya Namaha.
Om Kalatitaya Namaha.
Om Kalatitaya Namaha.
Om Kaivalya Swarupaya Namaha.
Om Kaivalya Swarupaya Namaha.
Om Kritatmane Namaha.
Om Kritatmane Namaha.
Om Kritakrityaya Namaha.
Om Kritakrityaya Namaha.
Om Gita Jnana Yajna Pracharakaya Namaha.
Om Gita Jnana
Yajna Pracharakaya Namaha.
Om Gurave Namaha.
Om Gurave Namaha.
Om Gurave Namaha.
Om Gurave Namaha.
Gurudev became known throughout the whole world as Gurudev. Swami Chinmaya became known as Gurudev. And now our Swami Tejomayananda has become known as Guruji. So Gurudev means the God among Gurus. God among Gurus, like that. Gurudev. And from that name, Gurudev, because he became known across the whole world as Gurudev, this name has come. Om Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Gurave Namaha means salutations to that one who is the Guru. He became Guru of all. He became the authority in modern Hinduism. And so anybody wanted to find out anything in modern Hinduism will refer to Gurudev only. Or will read his books or his writings or ask him a question. And when he said it, it became Praman. So, salutations to that one who is known as the Guru. I mean, the Guru of the whole world. And he will not put any name for himself, like that. Though he is Guru of the whole world, he will not call himself a Jagat Guru and all, This name also of Guru, others have given. The very authority of Hindu Shastras, he never gave himself any name. And once I remember, I was present there also. Somebody asked, why don't you write your autobiography? Why don't you write your autobiography? He said, what utter nonsense. How you will write the biography of Brahman? Anybody could write biography of Brahman? When was Brahman born? So, that Guru who lived and taught this absolute knowledge of Upanishads and who became the authority across the world for the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita is referred to as Guru. So, Guru, salutation to the Guru. I told you, in Sanskrit, when you're saying that Guru word, you have to put it in fourth case, in dative case. So, Guru in fourth case is Gurave and not Guruve. We have so many people who just go around saying all sorts of words which they also don't know the meaning. So there's some song has also come out now. You hate. on radio and everywhere. Guruve, Guruve, Guruve. There is no such word in Sanskrit or Hindi. Guruve, Guruve, Guruve. The word is Gurave. Eh? Many of the singers, and this is, look, sometimes maybe I am guilty of that also. Let me just tell you one little thing which is there. People who learn music, you know, all the ragas and all the different alapantan and all the kind of thing, and they sing all of this music, right? They pay attention to the music and they don't pay attention to the words which they are saying. That is one of the big problems. Big singers, people like Jagjit Singh also. If you hear him chant Bhagavad Gita, he'll slaughter the verses. Yeah. They pay attention to the music, which is good. But if you are going to sing something from Bhagavad Gita, learn the words properly. Like Lata Mangeshkar, when she sings that thing, flawless, man. Flawless. So like that you have to do it. She is a perfectionist with whatever she is doing. If you're going to sing that. Now, let me tell you something. I might be guilty. I am guilty of that also. You know why? Because he specializes in music and he slaughters Bhagavad Gita. I specialize in Bhagavad Gita. Why I slaughter in music, you know? But let me tell you one more thing in addition to that, really. I am not a musician and I don't know any music. And really, I don't want to sing here also. I don't want to sing also. But in Trinidad, if you don't sing...
You are know nothing.
Yeah. You are know nothing in this country if you don't sing there. Yeah. So, I sing here out of pure necessity, not out of any desire. Yeah. I am not a singer, I am not a musician. I didn't learn any music. So, out of pure necessity only, because in this country you have to, if you can sing, you better start learning fast. Some way to sing something. Eh? All right. So, Gurudev was an absolute perfectionist in this Bhagavad Gita. And you know, Gurudev must have been very happy that he didn't have to speak in Trinidad. Because I have never heard Gurudev sing one bhajan in his life. Never. I haven't heard. Maybe he sang when I was not there, but I have not heard. And I have not seen any recording or anything where he's singing. He specialized in one thing and like a steamroller coming down. And that feel, make that thing perfect. Huh? So, Guru of the whole world he was. He's called as Gurave. And I told him, fourth case, the Guru word becomes Gurave. When you say, so, Om Gurave Namaha. That is a proper word in Sanskrit. Okay. Now, get ready. If you are joining us tonight for the first time, we are seeing now Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We have reached chapter 3, Tritiyodhyayaha, third chapter. And we are a little bit behind. Today I counted today. We're supposed to be 155 verses down the road out of 700. We're only 113. That means somewhere I have to match some X. Some place we'll have to put some speed. I had to get in the driver's seat. Okay, now what is going on here? I'll tell you. Bhagavan Shri Krishna is presenting a most flawless thesis of a life of sacrifice. A life of sacrifice. I mean, every single living human being has to live a life of sacrifice. Pure sacrifice. Meaning to say what? Living for the welfare and benefit of the world. On what is he basing his thesis? Very simple thing. The entire universe, every atom in this universe is taking care of us. We have contributed absolutely nothing in this world, really. The whole world is contributing to our life. And what we do, instead of now trying to make an effort to give back something to the world, the world is already giving everything to us, but we live a life of pure selfishness. We take more and more and more. So our whole life is only lived to do what? To gather more, take more, hoard more, store more, aggrandize. That is our life. A world that has already taken care of us and given us everything. And we take it one step further than that. We just use Bhagwan in that conspiracy too. We using the Lord also, and we praying to the Lord also to give us more and to give us more and more. Therefore, the fella say he was passing in front of a temple, and the temple had many beggars outside. People, if you go to India, you'll see outside the big temples and all, there'll be so many beggars outside standing. So he said, when I passed by there, I saw a most wonderful thing. I saw beggars outside, and I saw beggars inside. The beggars outside begging from the people who passing, and the beggars inside begging from Bhagwan. But this is how the human being lives. He lives only begging for more. He shouldn't be called human being. He should be called human morist. He's a morist. Morist means all he wants is more. Now Bhagwan is making a case for us to dedicate our life totally to the world. And that is called yajna. Now, I told you about that last night in detail. Now he gives an example. How the whole world is a yajna. The whole universe is a yajna. Sacrificing for who? For us. See this most wonderful example, very famous. See. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
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 Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyadana sambhavaha.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Yajnat bhavati parjanyaha. Yajna karma samudbhavaha. Shri
Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi. Brahmakshara samudbhavam.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Evam pravartitam chakram नानुवर्तयति यः
श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम
अघायुरेन्द्रिया रामः मोघं पार्थ स जीवति
श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम
श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम
श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम श्रीकृष्ण
शरणं मम. How this whole world is working to sustain us. In very simple language, Bhagavan is telling, Annat bhavanti bhutani. All beings, follow this thing. Annat bhavanti bhutani means all beings are born from food. This is another name we could have. Human moist, human food. We are born from food. See that, na? First we start out as 2 cells only, right? 2 little, one sperm and 1 egg. We start out like that. How you get so big? And some people get real big. How we get so big? And they're so small you were that you couldn't even, you had to take a microscope to see him. Right? How we get so big? Food. And some people are living on a seafood diet. Seafood diet, when there's seafood, they eat. Anytime you see food, just eat. So food, annat bhavanti bhutani, we are all born from food. Even the 2 cells which we started off as, they were born from food. In the mother and father. They were made from food only. Annat bhavanti bhutani. Now, second step. Parjanya danna sambhavaha. How does food come? Food only comes because of rain. Suppose there was no rain, only salt water. What will grow? Well, all food comes from. See, even in the fish and them, right? In the sea, them fellas and them also, their food chain starts with the plankton and all the little, what you call? The little plants and them living under the. It starts from that. And there, the sun is required. But Bhagavan is talking about here, all of us living on earth. But the food that we eat all comes from rain. The rain falls, the grass grows, and the animals eat the grass, and some of us eat the grass and some eat the animal. So all our food comes from rain. Of course, there are other things like the soil and the sunlight. And he's not mentioning, he's just using one of the elements that go into making the food, because he's demonstrating something. I told you that just now. He's demonstrating that the nature is sacrificing for us. That's the demonstration, right? So the rain is falling down, not for itself, but the rain is falling for us. The rain doesn't consume itself. The tree doesn't eat its own fruit. The river doesn't drink its own water, like that. So the rain comes, the food grows, we eat the food. Right? Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanya danna sambhavaha. The food is born from rain. Then next step. Yajnat bhavati parjanyaha. The rain comes because of yajna, sacrifice. So that's why I was just telling you. How the rain comes because of sacrifice? A very simple thing. Look here. The salt water, which is there in the ocean, he very happily dancing every day. The water dancing every day, making wave running, and he good to go, right? And he's lashing on the ocean and he washing out the shore and all that kind of thing. He good, easy. But he sacrifices, that body of water sacrifices its liquid state to become clouds, gas. To go into a gaseous state and to go up and form clouds. So there is a sacrifice which takes place there. I should give up my state. If people don't want to give up anything for others, you please remember that. If you're doing some important work at home and somebody comes for something, you don't want to give up because you will lose money, right? You're doing some important work. You don't want to give up your time and all that kind of thing for somebody. Yeah. We don't want to give up anything for somebody else. I tell you, if you go in the morning to the port to clear your barrel, and you reach there number 1 first, and the fellow who come after you tell me, give up your spot now. Give it to me. See how human beings, a little thing they don't want to give up, to give the number 1, and you go number 2. And in the immigration line especially, that's worse. And this immigration line, I tell you, listen, let me tell you let me give you a nice little advice. Anytime, next time in immigration you see me, don't come and stand behind me. Because I always end up in the slowest line for some reason. And last month, I came to understand why I always end up in the slowest line. In December, I went to the States. And I met a certain immigration officer. Well, when he see this clothes and all, he sort of asked, "Now, well, what are you doing? What is your job?" So I said, "Well, me have no job really, either." I was a Swami. He said, "Where's a Swami?" So I said, "Well, something like a priest." Something like a priest. I clarified that to him also. Not a priest, but something like a priest. You know what was the next question? "You're not Muslim, na?" I said, "No, I am a Hindu." All is a real thing, eh? So, anyway, he talked that little bit and thing, and he stamped my passport and he said, "Go ahead." Exactly 1 month after, I went back again to the States. And so many lines line up there, right? So many people. I end up by the same man. And that time, 1 month before, I was wondering why this man taking so slow. Why he's going so slow? In the other line, 5 people gone, and his line only 1 person gone. That's why I tell you, was line up behind me. So this time when I reached there now, I realized the same man now. I tell him he know. I say, "Hey, same officer." I said, "I came here last month. I came to you only. You remember?" When he got the clothes, and he said, yeah, I remember. He gone through my passport and he find his stamp. They just had their own number and thing. He find his stamp. He said, look here, it's truth. So he's telling me now, "Hey, well, it look like God sent you here today." He's telling me. I say, "Why?" "Well, he have a string of problems now. Huh?" He tell me all these problems now, one after the next year. So I trying to answer this problem and this question and then fast, because he had the line waiting there, right? And he going on, and I studying these poor people in the line. But he study nobody, no line and thing. He want his problem to get solved only. So I went on answering and throughout the whole conversation and nothing. Now sorry for them people, what to do? He's the immigration officer too. I can't tell him nothing to. No. Next thing you put me out. Then the people yajna cancel, all kind of thing. So I answer in there with patience. Then you don't really know if you have patience and thing. I answer all he question and thing. And last time I said, "Don't worry, everything will be okay." Because in any case, that's the truth also. Because only what Bhagwan wants, that will happen, isn't it? Everything will be okay because that's what the Lord wants. And I left that thing. So then I say, and I'm watching the people in the line and them hair and things shaking, but nobody can do nothing. But all of this came up because I was telling you, when you have a spot in that immigration line there, you don't want to give up to the fella behind you, right? But if the fella in the next line, they offer me his spot, I'd take it. Any spot in the next line, because I realize I come by the same fella. But so anyway, human beings don't want to give up anything. But see here, everything in nature is giving up their own state for you. Water likes to roam freely. Water likes to flow freely, stay in the easy state. But you know that water gives up that state and comes and takes the shape of your body with 80%. The water comes and takes the shape of this body. It doesn't get to flow and roam and be free in the air and nothing. That water sacrifices its own state to come and be in our body, to be trapped. Like that, if you go on thinking, you will see that everything in nature like that is sacrificing for us. Yajnat bhavati parjan. So the water is performing sacrifice. And it, see, here it says from yajna comes this rain. From yajna, from sacrifice comes rain. Only because the water had sacrificed its liquid nature there and gone up as vapor and formed the clouds and come down, then you get rain. If that sacrifice had not taken place there, if it had not given up its liquid nature, there would have been no rain. So from sacrifice comes rain. There are many, many meanings to this phrase. I just gave you one point of view there. From sacrifice comes rain. Yajna karma samudbhavaha. And sacrifice comes from karma. Sacrifice comes from karma. It means to say that, well, two ways you can see this thing now. When the water is giving up its liquid state to become gaseous state, that is a karma or not? That is a karma which is going on, isn't it? Some karma is some activity is happening. Second way to see that is, all yajna, any sacrifice requires some action behind it. You can't have a sacrifice without a action. All sacrifice is born from action. It means to say, if you perform nothing, no action, if you are lazy and just lie down there, you could never do any sacrifice. You could never sacrifice. Sacrifice begins with action. You have to do something. And they say, karma brahmod bhavam vidhi. And all karmas are born from Brahma. So here what is Brahma? Brahma here, all the translations give here Brahma as Vedas. Now what exactly is meant here, you know? Bhagwan Bhashakar gives this thing so clearly, so nicely. He says that all the absolute reality which is there, which is given in the next phrase, Brahma Kshara Samudbhavam. Brahma is born from the Akshara. So, now see, you have to back up a little bit here. Follow the whole thing again. All human beings are born from food. All food is born from rain. All rain is born from yajna, sacrifice, because the water has to sacrifice. All sacrifice is born from karma, because if there is no karma, there cannot be any sacrifice. A lazy person will just sit there not making any sacrifice. All karma, sacrifice is born from karma. All karma is born from Brahma. Brahma translation is given as Vedas. Vedas come from Ishvara. And Ishvara is nothing but manifestation of the absolute reality. So all Vedas, meaning to say the propulsion for action. Vedas here, you can't just take the scriptures or what you call the books. We're not talking about that Vedas. Bhagavan Shankaracharya calls it a revelation. Revelation. Revelation means what? It means any action which is done has to be taught to us or not. That action has to be real. Okay, you do like this, do like this, do like this, do like this. They give you the 5 steps, 6 steps to do this action. Like your parents have been teaching you from birth, right? Hold the knife like this and hold the fork like this, if you're a Westerner. If you're an Indian person, you break the roti like this, or you eat with your right hand. Every action has to be taught to us, has to be revealed how to do that thing. So that revelation, that teaching, or the proper way to do action, all that. Now let me just give you a simple example. You do drink the rice, dal, and then eat the rice, and then shake your belly. That would be one way to do it also, isn't it? Right? That would be one way to do it. What? You drink the cup of dal, you eat the plate of rice, and then you hold up pose and you shake well. The food will get mixed up in your belly. But somebody taught you when you were small to sane the dal and bhat. Eh? And you mix some bhaji inside it and a little bit of kuchila. Your mouth water in it. So, somebody would have taught you, somebody would have revealed the proper method of. Now, how many such revelations are there in the world about doing how many actions? This is just one I just chose there. How to write on the line in the copybook. And if it's Hindi, you write under the line. If it's English, you write. Who taught all of those things? Who revealed all of these methodologies and ways of doing action to you? Well, some other human being, right? But the ultimate revealer of all things in the universe, how everything ought to be done and how everything will work, the ultimate revealer is Ishvara. Here is called as Akshara. And whatever he has revealed, that thing is called as Vedas. All the possible types of activities and actions, how they are done. All the knowledge about doing anything. You suppose you're an electrician or you're an architect, but somebody would have taught that way of doing whatever you are doing, revealed to you. That all revelation is called as Vedas. All knowledge of all things, how to do and how it is done, how it ought to be done. That is, now, all karma which we do comes from that revelation, comes from Vedas. And those Vedas come from Ishvara, Akshara. Brahmakshara samudbhavam. The Vedas come from Akshara Brahma and Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma. They were everywhere because activity only is going on in this whole universe. What is going on in this world? Only activity everywhere. Every atom is. And who tell that electron? Well, you have to go in this shell only. You have to go like this, in this shell. Who tell that electron? You have to keep your distance from the proton. Who fix he action? And you see, he can decide, well, I fed up, the electron can decide, I fed up in this hydrogen atom, you know. Tomorrow I go in potassium. He can't say, I fed up here, I go in there. Who tell he how he's supposed to act and behave? Ishvara. Ishvara revealed to him. That revelation is part of Vedas. All the revelation put together as part of Vedas. All the Vedas. Huh? So now, where is it said? That is all pervasive. Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma. This revelation of Ishvara and the methodology of doing action is all pervasive. So now, from Ishvara, with Brahman conditioned by his Maya, from that Ishvara, all the revelation of all actions. From those actions comes sacrifice. From those sacrifice comes rain. From rain comes food. From food come all human being. This is the example which he gives. A very, very complex one. It appears, but really a very simple thing. You just have to understand this thing. All of us are here by dint of this nature which all emanates from Ishvara. So if everything in that we have is really given by this nature, or if you want to say given by Ishvara, then what do you have to do in life? Well, that's a very simple thing. I have to give everything in my life. You see, there's a whole In the next verse, we chanted already. Evam pravartitam. There's one more pada. Nityam yagne pratishtitam. It means to say the whole universe is engaged only in sacrifice. The whole universe is established in sacrifice. Everything in the universe is sacrificing for some other thing. Except the human being, he doesn't want to sacrifice. But nature forces him to sacrifice. Because when he, they say, when the bird live in, the bird does eat the ants. And when the bird dead, the ants eat the bird. In other words, he eaten. He helping to feed no ants, the bird. But when he dead, nature force him to offer his body to the ants. You see? Like that, nature forces this human being to sacrifice. But nature should not be the one that's forcing. We should sacrifice out of understanding. Because the understanding here is what the whole universe is sacrificing. You just have to give a little bit of thought to this, and you'll see that everything in the universe is sacrificing. Like, for example, the filament in this bulb, or the gas in the bulb, is sacrificing its life out. Or someday it will. And giving light to who? To us. All this sound system, you're listening through the sound system, right? Sound system don't last forever. Their life is slowly going. We'll have to get a new one just now. So this one will burn out its whole life so that you could hear me down all in the back there where Steve's standing. He will, the whole world like that sacrificing. That chair you're sitting on. After some time, gone. He'll give up his life, its existence. But it served you in the 20 years it existed. It served you. Like that. Nityam yagne pratishtam. All things in the universe are constantly engaged in sacrifice. It's serving some purpose for the benefit of others. The chair doesn't sit on itself. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha aghayurindriyaramaha mogham partha sajivati. This is a very, very strong verse. Where he says, if this is the wheel which is set in motion, a wheel which is set in motion, what? The one thing is sacrificing for another, and that thing is sacrificing for the other, and that is sacrificing for the others, and everything is sacrificing for everything else, and in the end, all things are sacrificing for the human being. That is a wheel set in motion. Chakra. And he said, the person who does not find himself as part of that chain or that wheel, chain or wheel or whatever you want to call it, if you don't find yourself as part of that, what you do, you only, like for example, when they're making chocolate, well, one man picking the cocoa over there, he give it to our next fella, he dry the cocoa. This fella give it to our next man, he roast the cocoa, he give it to our next fella, that fella shell the cocoa, the other one, he gives it to another person, that other person grinds the cocoa, he gives it to the other fellow, that other fellow boils the cocoa with sugar and all of this thing, and finally makes chocolate. And that person gives it to another one, and he wrap the cocoa in the chocolate in paper, and he gives it to another one. He's a salesman. He gone and sell it, and he get money, and he give it back to the fellow who growing the cocoa, the first one. So there is a whole circle. What you do, you watch and you come and picking out chocolate and eating from the line. What you contribute? Nothing. This is a line, right? You watching the line. The chocolate they were on this side. I better walk down there. You better walk down there. This is what human beings do. There's a whole circle, a wheel. And if the universe is doing this, and I do not find myself as part of that wheel, He says, what a strong line. See, Aghayurindriya Ramaha Mogham Partha Sajivati. Means that person, Aghayu Indriya Ramaha, he lives a sinful life of sense indulgence only. Mogham Partha Sajivati. He lives a life in vain. Strong line this. Sinful life indulging only in sense pleasures, and he lives his whole life in vain. Now, this has to be taken very seriously, because this is just one rule which we are talking about in the universe. What is the rule? This universe is a chakra which is going on, right? And everything is sacrificing for us. So if we don't do that, here Bhagavan is saying that we live a life in vain, or we live a sinful life. But when he says that, you have to think now, but I do not. I just going to take chocolate from the assembly line and I eat. The idea is what we saw yesterday. Stena sa uchyate. He's called a thief. You saw that yesterday. That person is called a thief because he didn't contribute anything to the line. He just went and ate. He's called a thief. Now you know the second rule. Now this is one thing which is going on in the world. The chakra. The second rule is there's a law of karma. Right? So if you're a thief, if you steal, then the law of karma states what? Well, so you sow, so shall you reap. Means you took unfairly. That is what you sow. You took unfairly. So from you, things will have to be taken back unfairly. And that is what is responsible for the slavery in the world today. The slavery where millions of people are living in slavery today is because those millions of people took from the world unfairly. And so now the world is taking from them unfairly. Now, don't misinterpret this statement. Some people say, oh, so what you are teaching is you're saying it's good for them. Let them live in slavery. I never made any such statement. People are quick to misinterpret this type of statement, and they say, well, that's Swami saying, well, it's good for them. Let slavery continue. We never made any such statement, and no such statement ever made anywhere in Shastras. We are telling why a certain thing is the way it is. After that now, there are other things to be said. We just explain why the situation is in the way it is. Why you have to extrapolate and make silly statements after that. The slavery which is going on in the world today is because people took from the world unfairly. As I was just telling in that line, you just go on taking, and that happens everywhere. And people boast also. Many people boast to me, so in my work I have nothing to do. He's saying he work he has nothing. So all he had to do is take pay. And he contributing nothing. And he boasting too. So if you take 40 years of pay, and out of that 40 years you work 5 years, well, you're owing the universe 35 years. Well, you'll certainly become a slave. So we are saying that's how the universe works. Second thing now. On the other side, we didn't add to that statement and say, well, it's good for that person, let him be in slavery, or I should be then that also justifies me being a slave owner. No such thing, we said. If you want to be a slave owner, then you start in your bad karma now. Because people logic will be, well, it have plenty people who have to work out their karma, Yes, I just means I go be a slave owner. In fact, I go bless them fellas because I go have an opportunity to make them work out their karma. There's no such thing taught anywhere in Shastras. The Shastra is taught to every individual sadhak. You make sure that in your journey to enlightenment, you do not enslave any body. But the rest of the mystery of the universe and the way the universe operates and works, you did not make any of these rules of universe and all, you did not make. You came and you met it like that. You make sure that you just follow the first and second rule, which we are talking about here now. What that first rule? There's a chakra which is going on. And every chain is sacrificing for the next link. You find yourself in that chakra and make sure that you don't take anything unfairly from that. And second thing is, the other one rule is the law of karma. Don't initiate any bad karma for yourself. And the rest of the universe, you leave it like that. You are not the one who is controlling this universe. You just follow the rule. So this much we are saying. Now, the other thing is, when you see a person suffering something there in the world, it is a third thing now. When you see somebody suffering in the universe there, you can't say, well, man, that is the karma he suffer. The first part of that is true. The person who is suffering in the world there, slavery or suffering, whatever he's suffering, that is the karma, that is true. And why are you feeling bad to say it? It is true. That is the karma. If that were not true, that means Bhagwan will make this fella suffer unfairly. There's something wrong with Bhagwan. So it's true, whatever we are going through in this world is all pure karma only. Karma pradhana vishwa kari rakha. Now, the second part of your statement, lays of a man. That part is not. That part, you just missed a great opportunity when you say that. So I'll go over this again. When you see a person suffering there, you say, that is the karma, man, lay suffer. So the first part, that is the karma. That is his karma. That part is correct. The second part, if you say, lay suffer, let him suffer. That part, you just missed a great opportunity, which all the great saints and Mahatmas, Shastras and all talk about, and that is, here is an opportunity for you to try to help that person to come out from his suffering. And in that help, in that attempt to bring that person out of his serfdom or his suffering or whatever he's going through, you will get punya karma, you will get purity of mind, you will move closer to God on your journey. So if you say, lay suffer, you just miss that opportunity. And it's a great opportunity. In other words, the universe is there with all of its suffering and all of its misery. The universe is there for your moksha, for your liberation, for your salvation. So when I try to help that universe, which is in dire straits, then I will get salvation, liberation, moksha. You will not be able to, anybody ever removed all disease and pestilence and all famine and hunger and crime and all the negative things? Anybody has succeeded in removing from this universe? You can't. I talked about that in the previous days. The universe is made up of positive and negative in every atom. You can't remove it. But I'm saying the universe is there with the positive and negative, and when in your attempt to remove those negative, like the hunger and the disease and the suffering of the other person, in your attempt to remove it, that is your road to your moksha, your liberation. And that is all. You just do what you're supposed to do. And what the outcome, and this is what karma yoga is about, what the outcome is, leave it in the hands of the Lord. Don't be too taken up with every other thing or any other thing, right? Leave it in the hands of Bhagwan. So there's a chakra. Find yourself as part of that. So everything is sacrificing for everything else. Right? And the person who doesn't do this, he lives in vain. He will certainly become victim to all the negative things of this world. He lives a sinful life. And there are repercussions for sin. Now, Arjuna has a very nice question. Arjuna said, Prabhu, you're telling me to get in this chain, But isn't there, because every rule has an exception, isn't there anybody in this world who is an exception to this rule, who don't have to get in that chain? Because everything does have exception. Because I don't want to get in that chain, man. Bhagavan said, Arjuna, there is an exception. But you is not that exception. There is one person who has no duty in this world. Every one of us have duty. But there is one person who has no duty. Tasya karyam na vidyate. See, who is that one? He talks about that now. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
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 Yastvatmaratireva syat atmatriptascha manavaha.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Naiva tasya kritenarthaha nakriteniha kashanaha.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Na chasya sarvabhuteshu kaschidardhavyapashrayah.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Tasmadasakta satatam karyam karma samachara.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Shri
Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Shri Krishna Sharanam
Mama.
yastu yahatu atma ratihi eva syat atma triptascha manavaha tasya karyam na vidyate. That person who is absolutely contented in the self, by the self, with the self, through the self, that person who is God realized. In effect, that means one who is God realized. He has no duty. A God realized person has no duty. Until we have reached there, all of us have duty. So, Arjuna got disappointed. Arjuna was thinking all this, maybe I am the exception. Because Bhagavan said there's an exception, you know. No, he got totally disappointed. Atmani eva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. That person has no duty. The one who is contented in the self, with the self. It means to say, and Bhagavan explains, Naiva tasya kritena arthaha na kritena kaschana. That person has no thing in this world which he feels ought to be done or what ought not to be done. He just walks about this world freely. Nachasya sarvabhuteshu kaschidarthavyapashrayaha. It means to say he is not dependent on anything in this world. You see, I'll tell you something. We have become so overtaken by these worldly things that we cannot think outside the box. If you go home tonight and you say, well, this the law in the world has changed now, the law in the country has changed. Right? This house doesn't belong to you anymore. Where you will go now? Well, then you will see protests and then you'll see the other things. Whatever, like for example, the car outside, where you park up there, right? Especially new one you just buy. And you go outside and say, well, the law changed. No, this car is not yours anymore. Get lost. We are so dependent on our home. We are dependent on our car. We are dependent on so many things. If you go to the bank and they tell you, well, the account closed, we take all the money. Good. You burn down the bank. Well, we are so dependent, leaning on all things of the world. But it's supposed to Kaschit arthavyapashrayaha. He is totally independent of all things in this world. That person only has no duty. As long as you are dependent on anything in this world, that means until that time you have duty. And that's, you see, like the great sages, they just walk by. You give them food, they eat. You don't give food, he doesn't eat. But Bhagavan will say in 9th chapter also, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, that I take care of all his needs. So Bhagavan will make sure that he gets food. He himself doesn't think, oh, where I will get food next. He doesn't think. But Bhagavan makes sure that he gets. That person is totally independent. Tasmat, therefore, O Arjuna, tasmat asakta satatam karyam karma samachara, asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Therefore, you go on doing your work now without attachment, hankering over the results and working selfishly only for your own things. Work selflessly. Tasmat asakta satatam karyam karma samachara. Do your work selflessly. Go on doing it. And like this, asakto hi acharan karma, doing your work selflessly, paramapnoti purusha. That human being will reach a supreme state. Paramapnoti. Paramapnoti. He reaches that supreme state. How? By doing your work selflessly. We are only working all selfishly, dependent on this, craving that, longing for the other thing, hankering over the other thing, insisting on so many things, and wanting to hoard and store and aggrandize and build and on and on and on we go. Only for who? Not for anybody else. Only for ourselves. That is the selfish life I have lived for countless lifetimes, living only selfishly. Bhagavad Gita is now opening our eyes to a daring, selfless life. And only the daring person, that's why I see Bhagavan is giving this thing to Arjuna. He was daring like anything. Arjuna was a fearless warrior, I tell you. Daring. This Bhagavad Gita really is for a daring person. If you're muksi, you know his muksi? Kunu munu. Kunu munu muksi. You have to come out of that state. Gita is meant to wake you up to a bold and daring feat you have to undertake starting in this lifetime. That muksitvam. Muksitvam will not work in. That's a little Sanskritization of the English muksi, of the Trini muksi. So, he says, you tasmat asakta satatam, you become totally detached from whatever you're doing. Do it for the benefit of humanity, for the welfare of the world. And you'll read Paramaapnoti. This was a nice phrase. I like this phrase so much. Paramaapnoti Purushaha. You'll read that supreme state. Then Arjuna said, Prabhu, I am not the exception, right? You just told me I am not the exception. And you said that there are exceptions, that person who is able to be so totally contented in God, in himself, means in the absolute self, and is not desirous of anything in this world, is contented. He is the exception. He has no duty to do. But maybe this all thing is theoretical. Maybe there is no such person. Can you give me an example of any person who has no duty in this world? Well, all is theory and all. Tell me an example of a person like that. I don't think there is any example. Bhagavan said that there is an example. I will tell you. I'll tell you tomorrow.